sound of music drifting in the aisles. The elevator Prozac stretching on for miles. The music of the future will not entertain. It's only meant to repress and neutralize your brain.
Gavin Harrison, welcome back to Planet Drum. It's always a pleasure to have you here with us.
Great. Okay.
Let's start with something, with my opinion. To me, you are the freshest and most modern yet traditional drummer. You can play complicated patterns, making them appear very simple. Your drum parts are very intricate, but still powerful and growing, a gift that only a few drummers have. How do you feel when you understand that many drummers and musicians around the world have this same thought about Gavin Harrison?
Well, I don't know. I don't have a perception of myself outside of myself. Okay, I'm happy if people like my drumming. I'm very happy about that, but, you know, inside me, I'm not really concerned or worried about what happens outside. Do you know what I mean? I'm very surprised when people want to come to the concert, or they want to buy the DVD, or they want to, vote or something, and I'm very happy for that. But it's surreal, really. You know, when I think of some of the things that have happened to me, it seems very surreal because I feel the same as I always felt. You know, I'm just me. I just play the drums. If suddenly what I do is very popular, that's a nice bonus. But I do the same thing anyway. Regarding complicated structure, I like to play grooves. Before Porcupine Tree, I was playing with Lisa Stansfield. Before that, I was playing with Paul Young at Level 42 and Incognito. And I like to play grooves. And I think you can make complicated grooves feel the same as when you play in 4/4, with the same amount of comfort and the same amount of kind of groove. It doesn't have to be in 4/4. It doesn't have to have a snare on 2 and 4 to really groove. I learned that from David Garibaldi. He makes so many great grooves without baff, boom, baff, you know what I mean? Intricate things. Steve Gadd's the same. You can make a very nice groove with a complicated rhythm too. That's a piece that I made with 05 Rick. This is part of the third album that we haven't released yet. And it's nice for me. I was lucky to find 05 Rick, because I can have concepts of strange rhythmical ideas, and it's hard to find a band, even with Porcupine Tree. Some of my ideas are just too strange, too kind of out there. With Rick, he's a drummer too. He's a really good jazz drummer, and he found a way that he could compose songs to these strange rhythms. I'm sure every drummer has a collection of rhythms and favorite things that they do, but I was lucky to find him that we could work together in this way and actually make songs. I didn't want to make instrumental fusion kind of music.
Another thing I found amazing is the sound of your drums. How do you create the characteristic sound of your drums?
I mean, there's a sound that I like that I'm trying to find, and this is the closest, with Sonor drums, it's the closest I've found to, you know, the perfect sound. I like a very melodic tom-tom sound. I like a very kind of heavy backbeat snare drum sound. But honestly, most of the sound comes from your hands and the way that you hit the drums. Okay, my drums are kind of optimized for my style. You know, maybe you have a different style. You play my drums, it sounds strange to you because they're not tuned the way you like them. But for the sound I'm trying to make, I know is coming from my hands because I've had this sound before with other drum sets, even other Sonor sets, or even other manufacturer sets. I know, in my mind, I know what I want to do, and finding a set which can articulate what I'm trying to do is important. You know, I spend a long time experimenting with tuning, experimenting with different skins, experimenting with different size shells and different types of wood. And I'm lucky I have a recording studio in my house. So I can make, some days I just spend a few hours working on the bass drum. You know, I put 3 mics around the bass drum, I record it, I move the mics, I record it again, and then I can compare how it was with the microphone 1 inch this way, and then the next recording with the microphone 1 inch this way. I think, it's better like this. So, but it evolves. You know, in my house, I've had the same recording setup for 13 years, but now the recordings are much better than 13 years ago. And the only difference is the experience that I've had, you know, just moving a little bit here, tuning a little bit here, hitting the drums in a certain way, all makes a small difference to me.
It's not only a matter of tuning or that kind of skin, it's all a mix of all this stuff.
It's everything together. I suppose it's my personality. I choose which way to go with the tuning. I choose which way to go with the microphones and the EQ and the mix and the compression.
Everything.
There's a lot of things that make that sound. One guy wrote to me and he said, Gavin, what is the snare drum skin that you use on, I don't know the song, Dead Wing? And I said, this snare drum skin was a coated pinstripe Remo. And then he wrote back to me a week later, he said, I bought a pinstripe coated Remo, I put it on my snare drum. It doesn't sound anything like Dead Wing. Of course, there's a million other things. But he thought, if I have the same snare drum skin, I'll have the same snare drum sound.
Now that you're considered a top drummer, do you think there might be a risk of repeating yourself, and what should you do to avoid the artistic obvious?
I'm always worried to repeat myself. I mean, when I write the songs with Rick, as soon as I recognize something I've done before, I stop. I don't want to do the same thing. There's no point to make the same thing over and over and over again. I'm very bored with my own drumming. You know, I've heard all the fills that I've played, and I'm trying to evolve and move away from how I played 15 years ago, how I played 10 years ago, how I played 5 years ago. I want to keep moving on and changing the way that I play. And really the only way is to change the way you think. I don't need to have faster muscles, because probably I don't want to play something faster. I just want to think of something better.
Your involvement with King Crimson made you play together with another drummer, Pat Mastelotto. He told me in a recent interview that for him it was a great experience. What would you like to reply to this?
For me, it was a nightmare. No, Pat was fantastic, because Pat, of course, had some experience of playing double drums with Bill Bruford. And the best thing about Pat is that he's not competitive. And I'm not competitive in this musical way. So if we would have been competitive, it would have been a nightmare. But Pat was always trying to find a way to play less, and so was I. I was trying to find a way to come out of the way of Pat. So we would record ourselves. We would listen very carefully, so there isn't two bass drums at the same time or two snare drums at the same time, and we would carefully choreograph. Okay, you play the bass drum here. In the chorus, I'll play the bass drum. I'll go in the ride cymbal. You stay on the hi-hat. Also, you know, the sounds, making the sounds. We wanted to play like a drummer with 4 legs and 4 arms, one drummer, not two guys playing opposite each other. And, you know, Pat was fantastic. He had so many good ideas about how to arrange with 2 drums. So it was a fantastic experience for me too. And he's such a lovely guy. You know, you feel that when he plays. He's a very warm, generous kind of guy. You met him. And you can feel that when he's playing the drums, that he's really supportive and he's listening. You know, we started off on 2 risers, separate risers, and I said, let's put the risers together and play very close, because I want to hear you acoustically and make sure that we're sounding like one drummer.
You've had also a previous experience with 2 drummers, with Claudio Baglioni and Elio Rivagli. Was it a different approach with him playing the 2 drums?
No. Elio he's a very nice guy, as you know, and he's a great drummer. And so, lucky for me, again, that there was no competition element, you know. There wasn't like, I want to play this, or I want to play faster, or I want to do a better fill. No, it was completely with great sympathy. It was a great
11
experience.
years have passed by since Richard Barbieri called you to join the band Porcupine Tree. With the incident published in 2009, you have recorded 4 albums with them. Can you draw some interim conclusions regarding your experience with this band?
With Porcupine Tree, we try to evolve. We don't want, I mean, In Absentia is a really good record. We didn't want to make In Absentia 2, In Absentia 3, In Absentia 4. It was important to evolve and do something different. So we're aware of what is, to us, a Porcupine Tree cliche. You know, we have a concept of what Porcupine Tree is and what we sound like. So sometimes we write a song and we think, this is like old Porcupine Tree. We're only interested in the new Porcupine Tree. To evolve is the most important thing. We don't want to find a formula and just make the formula, you know what I mean? Rhythmic Designs, I was lucky to find a really good transcriber called Terry Branham. I met him on an internet site, a drum forum called Drummer World, and he started to put some small, you know, some guys would ask a question, Gavin, what is this fill, or what is this rhythm? And sometimes Terry would put a really nice transcription, and I would think, wow, that's really perfect. And he puts the stickings too. And sometimes I play kind of left-handed, and I never understood how he knew which stickings I used. And so I started a relationship talking to Terry Branham, and he said, you know, I like the albums of 05 Rick that you made with 05 Rick, and I'd like to make transcriptions. So he sent me some transcriptions, and then I said, why don't you do the second album as well? So he did 2 albums, 19 songs of very complicated music. And then I said, look, we could make a book like this. If I make a DVD to go with the book, maybe a couple of hours, I can talk about each song, I can demonstrate how I play some fills or some rhythms, and if people are curious about the 2 records of me and 05 Rick, Drop and Circles, this is a really nice thing to have. It's all the transcriptions, every single note, and, you know, the video of me explaining where the ideas came from, where the inspiration come from, because sometimes I took the inspiration from Steve Jansen or Steve Gadd or somewhere else. So I explain where the idea comes from and how I develop these ideas into the song. So for me, it was a very interesting project.
There was a question from the audience over here about your modern drummer experience on 2008. Would you explain what happens also to our microphones? What happens during a festival with so many drummers around that is very different from playing with a band, of course?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, when you go on stage with the band, maybe there's some drummers in the audience, but you get the feeling that the audience isn't all drummers. In a modern drummer festival, you get the feeling that all the audience are drummers, maybe some very good drummers. And unusually, you look round and there's some really famous drummers standing in the wings watching you. But they were very supportive. They were very nice. There was no kind of competition feeling, you know. And very nicely, Simon Phillips introduced me. And, you know, it's a very high-pressure situation. So I sat in the dressing room, I put on the iPod, I listened to my songs, I imagined me playing the songs, and when I arrived on the stage, I was as relaxed as I could be, considering the conditions and considering that it's all being filmed with cameras coming down, and you know, this is going to be a DVD. The pressure to get it right is enormous. So, it was a great experience, but pretty scary one. So, I'm using this thing called a BC2 by Porter and Davis. And it's very new. It's a bass shaker, but it's inside the seat. So when I hit the bass drum, the microphone sends a signal to this engine. I have a little engine by me, which is an amplifier. The same microphone, so it comes into the engine of the BC2. Then there is a speaker lead, which comes from the engine into the bottom of the stall. And when you hit the bass drum, you feel a vibration, and it gives you the impression of low frequencies, like sub frequencies. But it's really in time. When you hit the skin, you feel and it feels fantastic. When you turn it off, it feels horrible to play without it. So I'm very happy to use it. In a situation like today, I don't need a monitor. You know, I've got the in-ears going on, and I can feel the sub coming through the kick. And I wish I'd had it years ago. It's a dream come true. Any final words of wisdom? I mean, just practice. So many people ask me, what is the shortcut to play fast double bass drum? What is the shortcut that I can play? There isn't any shortcuts, right? You just need to practice. Thousands of hours, to really work on something. Maybe it's a thing of today that young people think, but when Gavin was doing it, that was 30, 40 years ago. There must be a new way now. There isn't really a new way. Okay, there's new methods, there's things like YouTube, and there's lots of more books and DVDs that didn't exist when I was young. But at the end of the day, you just really need to practice to get good. There isn't a shortcut. I wish there was. If there was, I would be doing it. Thank you.